I've never worked on a film where an actor goes on a journey, quite like Michael went on with this. And I know that's easy to say because it's across 14 years. But we set out and we said, listen, this is not about looking like him, you know, we didn't want to have everybody looking exactly like, you know, whatever photographs look like. But by the time we got to the third act, something very strange had happened, I think, and he'd become him in a way, or our version of him.
A great keyboard and the coolest mouse you've ever seen. This is what those things look like today. And now, I'd like to show you what they're gonna look like tomorrow.
It almost became what he told me about the way he likes to act, which is that he's forgotten it as he's doing it. It's not a question of remembering, do I say this now? It's just there. It appears.
This is the iMac.
I never saw him looking at a script. I never saw him looking at sides. The guy's got lines, you know, Hamlet, Lear-length lines to learn for each day and every day. You know, we couldn't do anything without him. But he would step in and just float, and he was there.
I watched quite a few interviews with him, and I think it was almost like he would be embarrassed to show vulnerability. That there was this sort of, you know, there was this sort of armor on all the time that was like, you know, I'm sort of not invincible, but I'll you know, I'm going to be fine type sort of sheen that was sort of on him. We don't have time to be polite or realistic, because if we are, this company's next product launch will be held in front of 26 people and a stringer from the Alameda County Shopper's Guide. Well, you know, I think, you know, it's his passion for what he wants to do, and I think, you know, being deceptive, manipulative, they're, you know, ways of getting the end result.
You literally threatened me at Flint right before the Mac launch. I was recompiling, was trying to debug the voice demo, and you said if I couldn't find a solution, you'd call me out in front of the audience.
Did it say hello?
It did.
No need to thank me. Sometimes people need provocation and manipulation. I mean, I know that being an actor, that directors do that to us all the time. You know, when you've got an ambition for something and you see something and the way it should be, sometimes, you know, a certain element of uncompromising is required.
Why do you want people to dislike you?
I don't want people to dislike me. I'm indifferent to whether they dislike me.
Ferocious drive.
Artists lead and hacks ask for a show of hands. Visionary on so many levels. People don't know what they want until you show it to them.
Brilliant, very successful.
Dedication to trying to transform people.
I want to tell you I appreciate all the hours you put into it, but I can't because of how terrible it is. Deceptive, manipulative.
Difficult.
Cruel. Why are you still telling her I'm her father?
Steve Jobs is a terribly complicated guy.
The script was almost 200 pages long, and I mean, I hope the film is the same kind of experience for people. You read it like that, I mean, it's gone.
Genius. I just thought, you know, that's, you know, the best modern day script I've read, for sure.
When I took on this assignment, I felt like the biopic structure is one that's very familiar to audiences, the cradle-to-grave structure, that there was nothing new I could do in terms of storytelling if we started off with a little boy and his father, and he's looking through the window in the electronics store, and then we kind of hit all the all the hit songs along the way in Steve's life. That I wanted to do something different.
I never wanted to make a film like that because I think you're always looking over your shoulder, going, oh, it doesn't matter what I think. Is it the same as the photograph? No, it isn't quite. We'll have to stop. If people want to look at the documentaries and want to look at the journals and the photographs and the history, that's great, and they should, and that's lovely. And Walter Isaacson's book is there for that as well. But Sorkin's script and our film is actually there for another reason. It's a different kind of journey that's influenced by this extraordinary story of this man. Should you really be doing, a film about a person like this, a controversial person like this, with many people with different opinions, and there'll be family and all those kind of stuff. We've been through some of that on 127 Hours that we've done. The problems of doing true stories, if you call them that. But actually, you read the script and it felt like you would be crazy not to do it. It was extraordinary. It was something, I'd never done anything like it before. You have an impression that is indelible straight away, and it follows you around for days, straight away, about how it should be made and the feel of it.
Is that all right to go shore instead?
Sure, or you get...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boss? Hey! There's nothing in that vending machine that won't kill you.
Oh, I was just browsing.
Take a walk.
I was just going out the door when I was saying, yeah, it's pretty cold. Like, I was fully outside.
I timed it very... we got enough to get us there.
Walter Isaacson's book, Steve Jobs, is, at its heart, a piece of journalism by a world-class journalist. Journalism is a lot different from what I do. When you're doing a piece of journalism, you have an obligation to be objective. I have an obligation to be subjective. That's the difference between art and journalism.
Do you know what a coincidence is, Lisa?
No.
You made a new friend and her name was Lisa too. That would be a coincidence. LISA stands for Local Integrated Systems Architecture. It's a coincidence.
There's a huge difference between characters and people. And this movie, like any movie, is populated by characters. A character in a movie, in a play, can be unlikable and incredibly compelling at the same time.
Are you being nice?
Oh, yeah.
Chances are, if there's a person in life who you find unlikable, you don't want to spend time with them. After reading Walter's book a lot, after reading everything that you could read about this guy and these people, and particularly after talking to everybody, I identified 5 conflicts in Steve's life with other people and found ways to play them out at these events.
You're gonna end me, aren't you? I'm gonna sit center court and watch you do it yourself.
Most of the things that happen in the movie happened. They just didn't happen, they didn't all happen backstage before a product launch. The only thing that really happened where I said it happened, when I said it happened, was they couldn't get the Mac to say hello before the Mac launch.
We needed to say hello.
You're not hearing me. It's not going to say hello.
Fix it.
Fix it?
Yeah.
In 40 minutes?
Fix it.
I can't.
Who's the person who can?
I'm the person who can, and I can't.
I spent a lot of time with all of the characters in the movie. Joanna Hoffman, Steve Wozniak, Andy Hertzfeld, John Scully. But it really wasn't until I spent time with Lisa that I was able to call people and say, okay, I think I know what this movie is, what it was going to be. Until then, it was just a bunch of notebooks of notes.
Why isn't it a perfect cube?
You've asked me before.
I forget what it is.
It's an optical anomaly. To the human eye, perfect cube doesn't look like a cube, so we made it roughly 1 millimeter shorter than a foot and 2 sides.
What's an anomaly?
You've asked me that before, too. I don't know why you keep doing that.
When you are obsessed with projects, with work, there are sacrifices that you're making that are hurting other people, in however large or small a degree, it's still true. Jobs is the most extreme example of it. We're all guilty of it. I have 2 daughters, and the father-daughter relationship, although I hope my relationship with my daughters wasn't similar, there are similarities in there. You have this dedication of quality, and you have this vision that that you want people to share this vision with you, and you think, oh bloody hell, I'm like that sometimes, So it's not just a story about this titan, this giant, this mythological. It's about all of us, really, or certainly the kind of people who are trying to persuade people of things. This was an amazing coup d'etat, making the things feel personal, like they belong to you, unlike Hollywood, which had made them into IBM evil kind of creatures. they belong to you. And if you can maintain the clapping and the cheering for a ridiculous amount of time, you're standing in for 3,000 people. Whatever we're paying you is not enough. I know.
Roll sound.
Rolling.
And action!
And now, for the first time ever, I'd like the Macintosh to speak for itself.
They laughed there.
Should have practiced this.
I'm not comparing myself to him, believe me, but it is weird because he was not an engineer or a programmer. He didn't have any of those skills. His skills were very basic. But what he was he was able to synthesize all these other abilities. And that's what you do as a director, actually.
Hello, I'm Macintosh. It sure is great to get out.
Beautiful, you got your use of the crowd. Wonderful support you gave him, everyone. Thank you. I'd just like to do one more. Thank you. Even bigger if you can. That'd be great.
So it is with considerable pride that I introduce a man who's been like a father to me, Steve Jobs.
Very excited about this new product here at Macintosh. My name is John Scully, and this is the Newton.
Stanford's annual budget, $750 million and growing. The University of Michigan, over $1 billion and growing. Ohio State, Cal, Colorado, UCLA.
Very good.
I'd written something that takes place in a box, and he ended up making something visually fascinating.
Woz, nothing in that vending machine that won't kill you.
Just browsing. What's great about Danny, like he literally did a movie about a guy with his fucking arm stuck in a rock, and it's like one of the most dynamic movies I've ever seen, and like the guy literally doesn't move the entire time.
We'll know soon enough if you're Leonardo da Vinci or just think you are, but in the meantime, it would be great.
The Apple II's done. 7 years. It was a great run. You should go out in the house and take your seat.
Seth, excuse me, can I just see you pop back? Yeah, a bit of that, guys, yeah. So, you should also do that. Just stay there, guys. Thank you.
With Danny, you're working with a filmmaker. I mean, he keeps coming up to me and telling me what shots we're doing, and I'm shooting one now through a glass, and you're just partially in the... I said, Danny, I don't care. I just don't care. I can't wait to see it at the premiere, because you know that only Danny Boyle would have Alvin, the DP, put the camera there through the glass, and so I can't wait to see.
The cavalry's shown up.
As I hear you've been worse than usual this morning, I didn't think that was possible, so I've been dispatched as the Steve Whisperer. This is a 55 Margot.
It's 9 in the morning.
This is a 55 Margot.
I want to see that director who puts his interpretation on this script, and that's what a Danny Boyle movie is.
Hey, only Mark.
It feels... I think her instinct is not...
He has this theory that the first thing you do is the best thing you do because you don't really know what you're doing. So every project we've done together has that built-in challenge of changing the rules. Like maybe it's suddenly going from a cast of millions in India to one guy stuck in a canyon on a built set that even the camera department can't navigate, so that you're always on your toes and creativity is sort of born out of that kind of discomfort and challenge.
My mom said I could watch.
Where is she?
Why did mercurial end up not being a bad word?
Do you remember asking me that the night before last when we were having dinner at my house?
Forgot the answer.
And cut. Excellent, moving on.
You feel as though he really wants you to be there, and he wants to know what you think, and he wants you to absolutely take ownership of the role that you're playing.
I think what Danny values least is conformity. He does not want you to follow his lead. He wants you to bring something to the table, so what he values most in his collaborators is your own unique vision. If you don't have something new and different to suggest to him, why are you there? But it's really fun. There's a lot of freedom there. You're allowed to make mistakes. There's a safety net.
What I'd like to do is just one of these Canon cams of you walking under this tree, this magnificent tree, just before we lose the sun behind you.
All right, guys, so we're just going to do this as still.
He's like a kid that's just constantly wide-eyed and wondering, what's the possibility of doing it this way?
Very nice, guys. Lovely.
Who should embarrass you? It embarrasses me if you had any pride at all.
Embarrass the shareholders.
I don't give a shit about the shareholders. The shareholders are your problem. That's why I hired you.
Shareholders are my problem, and the board represents the shareholders. That's how it works.
Very good, gentlemen. Excellent. Let's set that up, and we'll be ready for you to play with it.
Here, go up. We will need Mitch to fix the hairy glow on this.
Okay, copy.
And we will go up to and including his return.
John, listen to me. Whoever said the customer is always right was, I promise you, a customer.
My job is to make a recommendation to the board.
And cut. I love that ending, Michael. It's wonderful. Yeah, reloads.
I play John Scully, who Steve brought in to kind of run the business side of what he was doing.
Jobs needed somebody to talk to the board. He needed somebody to handle the board. As far as the board were concerned, this was, you know, they realized that he was kind of maverick genius in the tech world, you know, and then some tech people would say, well, Jobs didn't really know that much about tech. So, you know, it's an interesting contradiction. But they found him difficult to deal with, and they didn't see him as you know, really a CEO material. So his thinking was, well, I'll find somebody that I can control, that can control the board.
I'm like Julius Caesar, John. I'm surrounded by enemies. No, you're not. The board. Oh, the board. The board's behind you. Only because you see to it they are. Well, I think it's a good board, but if you want me to push them out one by one, we can talk about that. I want you to push them out all at once, through a window.
He made John a very attractive offer. John had been hooked up with Pepsi and was part of that campaign that sold Pepsi so well, the Pepsi generation and that whole thing.
John Scully took Jobs out to the Pepsi headquarters, and there they had this partitioned area for the executives, which was very plush, and then the ordinary workers weren't allowed to engage in that area, and that really upset Jobs, and I think made him angry. He couldn't understand why there was this segregation within the company, and so that was an interesting observation. But he also liked the fact that he drove Mercedes and that he had a certain style to him and taste, and as we know, that was a big deal for Jobs, you know, beautiful objects and beautiful design.
The only thing you've built is a black cube?
Yes. Yeah. But isn't it the coolest black cube you've ever seen? Show you what this looks like. The whole thing is translucent. You can see into it.
Steve really liked John's marketing genius and brought John in to kind of, you run that side of it, I'll be the visionary. And when it was that, it was terrific. It was like a bromance. They really enjoyed each other, and I think for John, the excitement of as Steve had put it, you can put a dent in the universe, you can change the world with me, and you want to come along for the ride. And it was a great ride until it wasn't.
Oh, just relax.
Why?
I don't know. No one's ever asked me that question. There you go.
You're the only one who sees the world the same way I do.
No one sees the world the same way you do.
He came in for rehearsals, and it helped a lot. I had a pretty good idea of what he sounded like and what he was going through from YouTube. John's all over YouTube, post-Apple, and but it helped to meet him because you could still see the loss of that friendship with Steve, because it ended very, very badly, and it was never resolved. They never reconciled.
I have another idea.
What?
It's deceptive and borderline unethical.
I'm listening.
It'll run on the 512.
You tested it?
Yeah.
Our idea of him, that this script allows us, there's great charm in there as well. There's wit and humour, you know, and also an understanding of how people want to be pushed as well, which isn't necessary. You know, he behaves like a monster sometimes, and there's that part of it, but there's another side of it which is just pushing people to do the best always, to get the best out of themselves. And people do love that, you know. People do love finding someone who inspires them to push themselves. Listen, I'm sure he has lots of people who didn't like him. There were lots of people who deeply devoted to him, not least Joanna Hoffman, who spoke to us, actually, who came in and spoke to us about, you know, the wonder of working with him.
Yeah, quickly to the side. Which side do you need? Her in the middle. Harry? I keep picking him in the middle. So I need to be on this side in the middle. Got it. Yeah.
Which lets you spin up then. Very good. Timing at the front.
Bang on. I was like, wow.
It was like, we'll never ever get it like that.
I ultimately spent a lot of time with her, and that was really valuable to me because there were things that she shared with me about her relationship with Steve and her time working with him that really gave me an insight. I think that possibly no one else even had, maybe not even Aaron Sorkin, because we did become quite good friends. So yeah, Michael and I were, very, very lucky to have that. It was the voices really, I think, that we needed to listen to the most though, because obviously we're both doing different dialects to our own, and that's always really challenging. So it's lovely to have the real voice in your ear.
Wait, you're gonna demo a 128 computer on a 512?
Nobody's gonna know.
And you think that's borderline unethical?
Name my other choices, please.
One day, all of us were emailed a picture of a woman who looked exactly like Joanna Hoffman, but wasn't. Sure enough, Kate Winslet wanted the part, went to her makeup person, and made herself look exactly like Joanna Hoffman.
She's the organizer, she's the gatekeeper through which people get access to her. She tries to organize this impossible man, really. So Kate would basically play that role on the set. We'd be doing scenes and they'd stop, and extras would be confused, and she would be organizing them.
Back at Bandley, the MAC team gave an award every year to the person who could stand up to you. I won. 3 years in a row.
Cool.
It's a small girl who believes you're her father. That's all. That's all the math there is. She believes it. What are you going to do about that?
This is portraits of people, you know, but the essence of something about them is there. And Seth had that about Woz right from the beginning. I don't know whether I could actually verbalize what it is, but it felt like him.
The Apple II is what pays the bills around here and has for 7 years.
Was just as nervous as the rest of us. I mean, it was really scary, and we were all in it together, and we would sit there and, you know, talk about our fears and, you know, panic. And he was panicking too. You know, it was it's always refreshing to come across actors who are like that.
Jeff, I'll give you a tap for when to move, yeah?
Action.
If you embarrass these people, you are going to see a brain drain at this company, my brother.
I gave you everything you wanted on the Apple II. You don't ask for a lot? There isn't a single fight you lost.
You concede that the slots are the reason for the success of
You
it?
can't possibly still be talking about the slots, man.
I
For
have a
7
point.
years.
The 8 slots on
You're
the
still doing
Apple
it.
II.
You're talking about the
slots are
There's something
actually
wrong with you. This argument started in the garage.
And thank God I won that argument.
When I first read the script, I sympathized very much with the idea that Woz feels like because he's affable, he's marginalized. As a comedian, that's something that I 100% related to. Because Woz is a friendly, nice guy, people assumed he was not as smart. And because Jobs was serious and abrasive at times and harsh, people assumed he contributed more.
Well, I'm the only one that knows that this guy here is someone you invented.
I met Wozniak at a rehearsal. It's infinitely educational. I mean, it's very rare you get to, sit down and talk to someone who, invented something. Most of my friends are, comedians. Kind of the guy who conceptualized the idea that computers were something that everyone could have in their home because he just wanted one so badly that he invented a way that he could obtain one. It would be like today if someone was like, everyone should have an airplane in their front yard, It would probably be that ludicrous, but he was like, but I want one, and so he found a way to make an airplane for a few $1,000s that fit in your garage.
Could he see that vision of where this computer was eventually going to go? I'm not sure. It's the classic thing. I think that's why they worked well together. One was the designer and the genius in terms of building the Apple II and being responsible for that, but perhaps didn't have the vision to take it to where it went. For Steve, that was just the beginning.
Computers aren't paintings.
Fuck you. I'm gonna say fuck you every time you say that until you either die or stop.
Steve.
Try it.
Steve.
Say it.
Computers aren't paintings.
Fuck you. Thankfully, Danny had the insight to have a rehearsal period in between each act, which worked out very well for us.
I come from a theatre background, so, I have that facility of understanding the appeal of conventional theatre rehearsal, I guess. So I knew we would have to rehearse like that we would rehearse each block separately, each 3 blocks separately.
Rehearsal very rarely actually happens, but in the case of this film, it was just so crucial because we had gigantic scenes to memorize, and if you don't rehearse it, if you don't actually practice your lines and practice what you're doing together, it really wouldn't have happened.
We would rely on each other, which is what you want when you're working with a partner. Is you want to feel supported, you want to feel that you're being provoked the right way, and you want to feel that the other person is also fluid and responding to what you're doing, as opposed to sort of being clear-cut and knowing what they're doing and not wavering off their choices before they come into the scene. She's very intuitive. She's also very brilliant technically. I have to say I owe her a lot for my own performance. What you call reality distortion field, and I'm pretty sure you're the one who coined the phrase, is the reason we're here.
I know that.
If I traded in my bank account for $1 and every time somebody told me something was impossible, I come out ahead.
I know that too.
What's the problem?
My problem? It sure isn't the house.
Joe,
It's that you told her you weren't going to pay for Harvard.
The rehearsal process was so crucial because it meant that we could try every possible version of a scene out, every single one. There's actually a scene in Act 3, and in the middle of the scene, he just starts doing a little bit of yoga, and that was not scripted at all. He just decided to be extremely experimental that day. He came in the morning, he said, I'm going to try a bunch of stuff, and the response is always great,
You're gonna win. It would be criminal not to enjoy this moment.
I'm enjoying it.
We would do something I've never seen in rehearsal of a movie. We would do entire run-throughs with the set taped off on the floor. We would do an entire first act run-through, an entire second act run-through, an entire third act.
It could very much be performed as a play that way. And we learn a lot about the arc of the whole story by getting to run it that way.
We kind of just walked through the scenes. It's a big room with chairs and tables, so you can kind of set up a little mock-up of wherever the scenes are taking place. If it's a walk and talk, we'll literally just walk in a circle.
My department's job to get the rehearsal space with all of the key props. And so the Macintosh would be sitting on a table and they would use it in the scene. We have a big giant boom box in there and cassette tapes from 1984, movie posters on the wall so that they feel like they're in that time period.
That was cool. Why did I like that better than I usually do?
I don't know.
Something was different.
Hey, stupid.
I think she's talking to one of you guys.
You get to kind of make your mistakes in the rehearsal room, but by the time you get to shooting, kind of know what it is. But it's still a Mount Everest for Michael Fassbender. And having done Will McAvoy on Newsroom for 3 years, I knew the mountain he was about to climb. And so when I heard that they were literally interrupting shooting, we had rehearsal before, but then in the middle we shut down for a week, and then we do the middle section, and then we shut down for another week, and then we do the end section. I was instantly envious and bitter that Michael Fassbender got that kind of time to learn his lines. I had a weekend.
I just wouldn't have been able to do it. I mean, I would have needed the other alternative for me would have been, to have another month to prepare on my own. It would have been achievable, but not coming in January, having got the script beginning of December.
Danny was utterly unflinching in how he wanted to tell this story as authentically as possible. And the reason I can tell you that is because I asked him if there was any way that we could rehearse some of the film in England, because I had been working in Australia and we desperately needed to go home. And he just looked at me and he said, "It just won't feel the same. It just won't feel the same." And I thought, God, he's right. Of course it won't.
I remember thinking, we've got to make that in San Francisco, because it's the Bethlehem of the modern world, really, of the digital age.
Silicon Valley and Palo Alto and that environment and the Flint Auditorium, we really did film in some of these locations where these launches actually happened and where these famous speeches were made by Steve Jobs.
We went to the Opera House, which is a Beaux Arts theatre in San Francisco, and it's gilt-edged and gold and red velvet curtains.
The Opera House, they had shows on, so we would have to creep in after all the ballet dancers had left, and you got that sort of after-show buzz is still in the air, and we're setting up to shoot for the night. I mean, it was really quite extraordinary.
Jobs would have done this as well, I'm sure. You take advantage of that idea that, it's us against the world, it's us, we're the pirates working in the night time trying to achieve something.
Come sit here for a minute. Do you know what this is?
It's a computer.
It's a computer. You don't have to, but if you want, you can play with it.
We could have built the backstage, but we didn't. We shot the real backstage where Jobs was walking the halls. We shot the real dressing rooms where he was waiting to go out.
I felt that it should be made in a way where we liberate the actors.
I appreciate you inviting me to the launch.
I just want to wipe the slate clean.
That's exactly what I want. That's why I came backstage. I want you to know I'll be out there with you.
They didn't have to worry too much about where they were standing, where they were going, all that kind of stuff. It was open and they would be able to move around. And our shooting style and our lighting technique had to be based on that. It was very challenging for the crew because of the three spaces we were working in were very restricted. So we decided very, very early on that we would use Steadicam as much as we could.
When the manufacturers make things with 90-degree angles, they cheat the angle a little bit, 89, 91, so that it's easier to get the object out of the mold, like getting a cake out of a pan. But on your dad's new computer, he insists the angles are exactly 90 degrees.
Why?
He's a perfectionist.
Do you want me to stay wide for a 3-shot at the door and
Yes.
see what happens?
Yeah.
What I can't do at that point is sequence in.
Because of that. Well, you might be able to this time because Seth will open her up much more, so there is a gap through there.
I love working with Steadicam. It's incredibly beautiful, actually, to watch how those operators work, and it just lends such a fluid quality to storytelling.
I think you react more to the temperature of the actors in front of you. You're trying to be in tune with what happens, so it's kind of a fluid process.
You really have to work as a team. It was Michael and I, the Steadicam operator and the boom operator. No one else could even get into the room because there would be mirrors on 3 sides and you would just see other people.
What should I call the person who thought it'd be a good idea to hand these out?
I'm not telling you who it was. It was done without malice, it's been taken care of. You have a half hour, and we have things to talk about.
I thought you needed to be able to differentiate clearly these three spaces because the three products meant different things at different times.
There was a lot of dialogue that was going to be delivered with high emotion. So you don't want to have wide shots for that. You want to be closer, you want to feel what that person's feeling. So really my format was exactly as you see me now, a head and shoulders with a background. How do you make that interesting? How do you show an audience that they're in a different place? Really it came down to the most obvious thing of all, color.
Focus seems kind of sharp.
On the slide?
The floor, the pin spot.
I think we want a sharp focus.
Don't take it personally. Just not a fan of the circus aesthetic.
I suggest to Danny, because we have got Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, why don't we shoot it from film to digital?
We shot the first act on 16mm because it feels rough-edged and homemade and basic. We shot the second act on 35mm, which is kind of liquid, beautiful, smooth, romantic. And then we shot the third act on the Alexa with a modern digital camera, which is infinite, it has infinite pixels almost, we're moving that way anyway.
Action!
One of the tasks that Danny gave me was to get us into the original childhood home of Steve Jobs, where he and Woz developed the first personal computer.
It was a big responsibility to design and dress how that garage might have looked in the early 70s with these two young men debating how their first computer should be.
Painters are on the verge of a tectonic. Hobbyists? A printer and a modem, 2 slots.
There are also a couple of faded Polaroids of Steve in his early 20s, sitting at a desk with a solder iron putting together some sort of circuit board at a bench facing the wall opposite the main house, so we knew where he was sitting.
Because they're repetitive, it's the same 6 characters meeting for the same 40 minutes before a launch 3 times. So you want to create as much variety as possible. And then so you're looking for the music to do that as well.
I wanted to write a score as if I was in 1984. So we used loads of old synthesizers. You couldn't even interface them with a computer, so you'd have to play every note in by hand, and they could only play 1 note at a time. You do a whole piece, and you have to build it and build it and build it. That's a very different way to how people work now. Keyboards we used were things like a Minimoog or Minimoog, Yamaha CS80, which is this kind of crazy synthesizer that Vangelis famously used. And when they launched the Mac in '84, Steve Jobs was a massive Vangelis fan. He used Chariots of Fire at the launch. The CS80 is all over the original 1984 Apple advert. It was like the big synth of '84, even though it came out in the '70s. And we just layer all these things up and try and create a synthesizer orchestra, which in 1984 was kind of very exciting thing to do. Now everyone's kind of heard that stuff, but then they hadn't. The way I approached this score, the first act, was electronic optimism. That was a belief in the future, a belief in technology could change mankind.
Can I borrow your hand for a second? Point that arrow and click.
When Lisa first plays with a computer, this is the beginning of computing in a way, and I wanted to write something that was really basic. And the sine wave is the most beautiful, simple electronic sound you can ever have. So when Lisa first plays with the Mac, you just get this boom, boom, boom.
Go ahead and click on it.
The house is now open.
We had a given, really, from Aaron's script, which is that the middle act was operatic.
How's it going to run this morning? What do you mean you don't have an OS?
It's like this.
We even wrote a script in Italian, which is about machines. Danny had this great idea. He was like, build a piece that sounds like an orchestra tuning up, but turns into music, which was unbelievably complicated. It was a bit like one of those Steve moments where it's like Steve says, just make it happen. And you're like, okay.
I once met Seiji Ozawa at Tanglewood. Thunderous conductor. Godly artfulness and nuance. And I asked him what exactly a conductor does that a metronome can't. Surprisingly,
he didn't beat the living shit out of you?
That's right. No, he said, the musicians play their instruments. I play the orchestra.
The third act is very sparse, but very, very elegant and beautiful. A bit like the guy's products, really, I suppose. That was the influence.
By 1998, you could create amazing music in the computer. You could sound design, you could do all kinds of crazy stuff with sampling. And you're no longer relying on all these synthesizers or orchestras, all these millions of other things. You can do it in the computer. So I tried to write a lot of that act in the computer.
Gonna put music in your pocket. 100 songs, 1,000 songs, 500 songs, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 songs, right in your pocket.
We're trying to find in art the better version of ourselves. We're trying to find a certain perfection that can exist in life.
Computers aren't supposed to have human flaws. I'm not going to build this one with yours.
We invest a lot of ourselves, all of ourselves, in what we're doing and in what we're making. And we kind of want the world to look at that and not us.
You're trying to impress something new and unique and original. How you go about that, does that affect the legacy?
You know, sometimes the personality and the achievements, they're sort of interwoven. I don't think it excuses it. People are accountable for what they do.
It's not binary. You can be decent and gifted at the same time.
I like to think that I do it without being quite as mean to people as Steve was. But if Steve heard me say that, he would say that his stuff is better than my stuff.
It's over. You're gonna win.
Steve Jobs changed the way people live.
He has really dictated to a certain extent how we communicate and how we function and live our lives.
We've all got instant access to all information straight away. So then it's just a question of what are you going to do with it, and that's up to us, and that's up to everyone now. What we do with this power, you know.
Somebody that has that sort of influence deserves to be reflected on.